Hello everyone and welcome. My name is Julie Mann and I show men and women how they can lead healthy, happy, sustainable lives. And I'm so excited because today I'm joined by Suzanne Roynon. Can't even get your name right. Hi Suzanne.
Hello Julie, it's great to be here.
Thank you for talking to us today. So for those of you that don't yet know Suzanne, she's actually an interiors therapist. Doesn't that sound interesting? And also an author and a speaker. So Suzanne, before we get into that, I'd love to know about your childhood. Was it idyllic?
Far from it. No, I had quite a conventional childhood. Being the daughter of two head teachers meant that gosh, if you're not terribly academic, which I'm not, you know, I can learn, but I have to be interested in what I'm learning. And sadly, that wasn't the things that I was supposed to be learning at school. So no, things weren't great. You know, we were definitely latchkey kids. We were very loved, but we were children just as the children that my parents were teaching were children, so that was sometimes quite difficult to make the differentiation between home and school for them. So yeah, it wasn't awful, you know, it wasn't a terribly traumatic or abusive childhood, you know, and we were very blessed in so many ways. But did I enjoy my childhood? No.
Wow, sounds like a lot of pressure. Sounds like lots of expectation perhaps around your education, and that must have been hard.
Lots of expectation, and also my choice, because, you know, reading all the books as I was growing up was to go to a girls' school, and actually I think it was just the worst thing that I could have done for me. And it's a decision that I consciously made when my daughter was growing up, that I wanted to go to, you know, a mixed school so that she had a balanced view of life, as opposed to the, you know, the real sort of, it's really hard to explain, but being in a girls' school, there are pressures that you don't get in a mixed school. I'm sure there were lots of pressures that you get in a mixed school. A girls' school was a very heightened atmosphere, which wasn't conducive to supporting me growing up. So yeah, I don't really like single-sex schools these days.
Yeah, I can understand what you mean. So it sounds like you were really glad when you left. So when you did leave, did you have an idea of actually what you wanted to do for the rest of your life?
Well, no. This was the 80s. You know, UB40 were telling us that 1 in 10 were unemployed. I left school with a head full of 80s song lyrics, which I can probably still spout now, and all the harmonies, but with really zero understanding of where my future was likely to be. So I went off to Westminster College, which is now Westminster University, and I trained as a professional chef. They say if you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen. What I discovered I really loved was the side order course that I had to do, which was communication. And I just thrived in this communication and learning a bit of French as well. And those things I loved, but actually herring about in a hot kitchen, wearing a hat and chopping up things that I didn't really want to eat wasn't really where I wanted to be. So I graduated. I did my best. I graduated with all my credits and so on, and then I decided to go and do something that involved talking to people. And actually, I ended up doing a long stint in the NHS, which I like to think I made a whole lot of lives better in the NHS, and then took myself off to work in various charities, again, you know, with this undercurrent of helping people have better lives. And actually then I realized that there's only so much you can do with charities, and it was easier just to get out there and make the difference myself, you know.
Oh, yes. I mean, you say it was a long stint in the NHS. I think it was over 15 years, which is a long time. So in that managerial role that you were in, did you love it?
Sometimes. I mean, I did various managerial roles. One of the ones that, and this will sound totally cockeyed, I was the complaints resolution manager. And I actually chose that title for myself. You know, the NHS, you have a complaints manager. Well, even back then, my head was saying, that's not a positive way of describing what's going on here. You know, we need to be fixing this stuff for people. So I implemented quite a different way of managing the issues that were coming into the hospital. And we actually had the best clear up rate for a huge swathe of the country. And so I used to then train other people in my methods for resolving complaints. And we did a really, really fantastic job. And ironically, I loved doing that job. It was very high pressure, you know, all sorts of rules and regulations to adhere to, but we fixed a whole lot of stuff. And instead of people going on for years struggling with not getting the answers that they wanted when they had experienced problems with their medical care, I just, you know, I went in and got them the answers they needed, and we moved them on. And
Oops, you've frozen, Suzanne.
Medical knowledge, which
actually you froze for a little bit. So you got them the information that they needed, and then there was a little gap.
Yeah. Oh, just, you know, I then developed a quite a useful medical knowledge, which then, you know, helped me in other roles that I went into after that. So yeah, it's quite hard to part company with illness, if you like, and move into another field. And ultimately, I was glad I did.
So yeah, I'd imagine as well, one of the challenges was the fact that actually you would have probably been in a very well-paid position.
Yeah.
Not like working in the kitchen, perhaps.
Not like working in a kitchen. I mean, you know, the wonderful thing I have to tell you about my life is that it's just flowed. It's taken me in different directions. And yeah, I guess I'm a bit like a pebble on the beach. You know, the waves come in and they take me off in one direction and then I go off in another. But the theme all the way through, when I look back, has been about helping people have a better life. And so whether that's dealing with complaints, supporting people with cancers, working in charities, working in plastic surgery. I mean, you know, in this last year, we have all learned about GPs and they're having to do their consultations online. Well, you know, 10, 15 years ago, I was leading on a project that was doing skin lesions online. So we'd get the people online, we'd take pictures of skin lesions, which might or might not be cancers. And instead of people waiting months for an appointment in an outpatient clinic, we'd get them their diagnosis within 2 days, you know, and it was incredible. And we were seeing these huge transformations with doing digital consultations. And then, you know, basically there were people in the NHS who got very, very protective of outpatient clinics and not moving things through. And they just blocked it. They, you know, and this huge advance in medicine 10 years ago, which meant that had we gone ahead and used that more efficiently, they would have handled this last year so much better, you know. But what can you say? It was a time when it was way too new. And I think sometimes things are just way too new for people to understand the impact. You know, people were afraid of trains when they first came in, weren't they? And then cars, and, you know, now we have people who are afraid of 5G. You know, there's something that everybody's always afraid of, and then other people who jump in and get ahead and say, look, this can really make a difference to your life, so let's go right ahead and do it. And
Yes.
I like to think that's me.
Yes, absolutely. You've obviously spoken about some of the challenges that you've had, Suzanne, but what would you say has been the biggest challenge you've ever had to overcome in your life?
Oh,
and how did you actually overcome it?
biggest challenge. I guess the biggest challenge for me personally was when my ex-husband and I were trying to have a child, and it just didn't happen. And this went on for a couple of years. And I'd see other people having babies and, you know, people who clearly didn't want their children and just popping them out left, right and centre. I was just anguished by this. How dare they? You know, we'll be good parents and, you know, I will love a child and all of this stuff. And this went on for quite a long while. We had miscarriages and ectopic pregnancies. And, you know, basically I was told, look, love, you're never going to get pregnant. Give up. You forget it. We even then got into the beginning of the adoption process. And that was tough. That was really, really tough. And someone said, try reflexology. I thought, yeah, right. Reflexology. And 6 weeks later, I was pregnant. So that then, you know, I think for so many people who are desperate to have children, the getting pregnant is like the be all and end all. And, you know, I realized pretty soon afterwards that that was just the beginning, you know, premature baby, and the pressure it had put on my marriage meant that we ultimately, a year in, we went our separate ways. So then becoming a single mother, you know, with a year-old baby. And this was just after the property prices just dropped out in 1994. So there was no money for the divorce. You know, I just literally went with nothing and started again. And that's, you know, what a thing to do. Start again, rebuild. And so, yeah, there have been various things. I've come through them.
Yes, and I know that your daughter's about 27 now, isn't she?
27, yeah.
Amazing. It sounds like, Suzanne, you've got this incredible bounce back ability, you know, that you will actually look for solutions. I guess that's, you know, that's what you did. And
yeah, but I don't want to give the impression it was easy. No. You know, I, like, you know, my family has a track record of depression, and I'd seen it in my father to a degree, in other members of the family. And, you know,
Oops, you've frozen again, Suzanne. I'm hoping that you're going to
recognise that there were times, you know, and to then go and get help. And, you know, I feel very, very fortunate that I have people around me who love me, who do accept that sometimes if I go quiet, then they need to just check in with me. My mom will always say, if she were to come to my house and, you know, the kitchen was a mess, she would know that unless I was in the middle of cooking something, there was something really wrong, you know, because that isn't how my mind works. So if the place is a mess, it means that there is something that is out of kilter, and I need a little bit of something to just push me back on track. I've learned now what I need to do. You know, I'm in my mid-50s. It's taken me a long time. And, you know, this is where I see, you know, I see all of these people, you know, on social media, and they're really struggling with their anxiety and their emotional health. And it's just like, it's okay not to be okay. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to just say, I don't know what to do. Have you got any ideas? And see, you know, see which ones you throw at the wall and they stick, because those will be the ones that potentially will then help you for the rest of your life. And, you know, I feel very fortunate that I've found those things, and that now I'm helping others to find them too.
Amazing. And I think what you said about, you know, having people, you're fortunate you have people around you. That is so, so important, isn't it? And people really generally want to help. People want to give back. They do want to be kind generally. And yeah, having a community that's going to support you, you know, when you're not okay, you're okay, whatever state you're in, is so, so important, isn't it? So I know now that you actually talk to people about their environment. Have you always been someone who's been very aware of the effect environment has had on you?
I think I would love to say, oh yes, you know, since I was a child, I felt this vibe. No. I tell you what, though, I did notice as a child when we would go on, you know, long car journeys. And for the sake of argument, we were driving up north to see my grandmother, and we would always drive through Birmingham. And you'd see these derelict buildings, and you know, they'd line the side of the motorway, broken factories, broken windows, buildings that had clearly once been, you know, monumentally gorgeous as buildings might be, you know, probably built in Victorian times, built to last, and yet here they were, being so sad and so unloved. And I, even as quite a young child, would look out of these, you know, rather than listening to whatever my dad had on the radio, I'd be looking out of the window thinking, wouldn't that make a great, but I kind of wanted to rescue these buildings and make.
Suzanne, you just froze again. Did you say, wouldn't that make a great, what were you going to say?
Oh, you know, whatever it was, would it make a great apartment? Would it make a great home? Would it make a great gallery? You know, I didn't really understand much about museums and galleries right then, but I could see that you've got these really brilliant, huge buildings that were just going to waste. And, you know, and then you'd see these really, because my grandmother lived not far from Manchester, these really tiny, black and grey lines of houses, which just drained the very hope out of your life. And then all these buildings which could be repurposed and people could live in and have space. And so I guess, you know, yes, from my childhood and teens, I was actually looking at buildings and thinking, yeah, you know, we're wasting an opportunity here. Why don't we do something about it? And I suppose that then grew into an interest in Feng Shui, and, you know, kind of the rest is history. But I won't say anything because I suspect you're going to ask me.
I am going to ask you, but firstly, I'm going to repeat a quote that's on LinkedIn. It says that you say you help people create more success and enjoy better relationships by transforming their home to support their aspirations. How on earth do you do that, Suzanne?
You start at the very beginning. You look at what they've got. You read the writing on the wall in their homes. And invariably in a home where a relationship is under pressure, or people just, they're hitting the wall every time, you know, they want to get a promotion, somebody else gets it. They want to go on holiday, something gets in the way, you know, excluding COVID. I can't take responsibility for COVID. But there will be people whose lives just seem to block them every single time they try and move forward. And there will be others who, you know, it's like Teflon, nothing sticks. They just float through life, good things come to them. How is that happening? What makes them different? And it isn't necessarily about money. Yes, if you've got a lot of money, if you manage it well, you can float through life. You're not worrying about the financial side of things, which brings so many people down. But, you know, how many extraordinarily wealthy people do we see who just don't actually have happy lives either, who are looking for something else from someone else, even though.
You're frozen again. There's a lot of freezing. Come back, Suzanne. I do hope you come back soon. Apologies, everyone. Technology, eh? I'm sure Suzanne will be back with us soon.
Understand.
So, Suzanne, you froze
Yes,
again.
yes. Okay, where did we get to?
You were saying that some people are looking for something from someone else to kind of, you know, fill that hole or whatever it is. You didn't say hole, but that's kind of what you were saying. What happened after that?
So essentially, I can go into a home and I can look around and I can see the hints and clues that the home is giving me that are sort of overlaid by maybe passing comments that people don't realize they're making. And I can see, right, okay, in this part of the home, I am probably associated with the Feng Shui, but initially on a look around, I don't even know where their Feng Shui areas are. But I can say, yeah, okay, what I'm seeing on this wall is that the woman is feeling very alone, very unloved, very unsupported. The man's interests are elsewhere. What can we do to shift that energy so that they see and support one another again? And there will be some cases where you can bring a marriage or a relationship that looks as though it was on the rocks, back together, stronger than ever. And there will be other situations where clearly those people are not meant to be together, and you can do whatever you want, but one person has detached themselves from that relationship, and that's obvious as well. And then it's about, right, how to help them both rebuild in their different directions. So I've actually got one couple I work with who were originally together when I first met them. And it was so clear that her path that she decided on was radically different to the one he wanted. And in that situation, I supported them to get their home so it would support the two of them and the children to make clear decisions about what they wanted to do in their future. And now I work with the individuals in their new spaces in order to help them with their aspirations for their own pathways whilst still being great parents.
I love that. And I know you don't make guarantees because obviously sometimes people aren't meant to be together and the signs are there. But the fact that you can make a difference with what you do, that's extraordinary. Now, I know that people don't have to understand Feng Shui, or some people pronounce it Feng Shui, whatever it is, they don't have to understand it. You understand it and you can just give them direction, can't you? So yes. You've got a book behind you, and I was going to ask you about that because I'm just wondering, you know, your book, Welcome Home, How Stuff Makes or Breaks Your Relationship. Love that title. What made you decide to write that, Suzanne?
Oh gosh, you know, we are back with the dreaded COVID. Okay, so beginning of 2020,
and we're back with the dreaded technology freezing you again.
My darling daughter was away, totally peculiar flu. Didn't understand it. What was going on? You know, I'd got all of these plans and suddenly I take to my bed and I can barely move. And I genuinely thought I was going to die. I had all of this knowledge inside me. Now, my daughter's grown up with this stuff, but even so, she doesn't have the in-depth part of interiors therapy. And I thought, if I'm going to die, I want to make sure that she's got this information so that as she moves on in her life, she can crack on and have her home supporting her without making the stupid duff mistakes that I've made through my life. And believe me, I've learned from a whole lot of mistakes in homes and my home. So I thought, well, I'll just write it down. And then when she comes back from her holiday, if actually I'm a maggot-ridden hollowed husk lying on the bed, she will at least have the basics of how to do interiors therapy for her future. So anyway, I wrote it down, and after about 10 days, I started to feel better, and got chatting with an amazing lady who's a publisher, and said, "Oh, I've just written this down," and she said, "I want it. I want to publish it because this." She'd met me several times. She'd heard me speak. She knew what I did, she had an interest and she said, we need to get this out there. And so yeah, it became Welcome Home. And
Wow.
it's changing lives. You know, I had the book birthday recently and I had all these messages from around the world saying, oh my God, you know, they did this and you did that and now this has happened, and oh, I'm going back to my book because I remembered what you said and I just met the same guy over and over again. You know, he's my ex, and then the next guy was just like him, and the next guy was just like him, and I remembered what you said, so I've gone back to the book and I've cleared all that stuff. And yeah, you know, it's not just about relationships. I mean, you know, when a book gets tagged with a title, this one was tagged with relationships because there is so much about relationships in there, but it helps everybody. It doesn't matter whether you're in a relationship, you're not and you don't want to be, or you're not in a relationship and you do want to be, or you're just happy as you are. There is something in there that is going to help everybody understand. And, you know, if you can understand how your home will either support you or it will create obstacles for you, then you clear the obstacles and you get on and you enjoy the life you want.
Wow, I love that. So obviously I'm going to put all your links below this video, and I really recommend that you all go and check them out. Is this a book that's available on Amazon, Suzanne? Is it a hard copy? Is it an ebook? What is it? You're frozen with a smile.
So this time you froze and I got this.
That's me, jazz hands.
Yep, let's get out there. Okay, what did you say?
I said, I'm going to be putting all your links below. But I'm just curious, is this a hardback copy? Is it on Amazon? You know, is it an ebook? What is it?
Okay, so it's a paperback. It's not a movie yet, but yeah, it's paperback. It's available on Amazon. It's available directly from me if you want an autograph copy. So yeah, it's out there. It's also on Kindle and Nook and all of the other variations on e-readers. So yeah, absolutely available. And yes, if you would like an autograph copy, please get in touch. And or if there's somebody, you know, if there's a really treasured friend who you see making the same mistakes over and over again, then this book is really going to help them on their way.
Brilliant. Okay, so can you share some tips with us, Suzanne? Some simple things that we could actually implement today that are going to start to create more success either in our business or our relationships or both?
Absolutely. So I'm going to give you two biggies. All right. The first one, if you're feeling blocked, if things aren't going well for you, then start at your front door. I want you to stand actually outside your front door and look at it. Is it welcoming? Does it say, I would love this fabulous fresh energy of all the wonderful things I'd like to come into my life? Is your front door welcoming it? Now, if it's nice and clean and polished and, you know, it opens smoothly and it opens all the way up, there's no squeaking, there's no box of recycling behind it. When you come into the hall, is there a pile of coats on a banister, or, you know, just a load of stuff, a pile of junk mail? Or is it beautiful? Does it welcome you in? Are there some fresh flowers? Do you walk into your home and say, oh God, it feels so good to be home? Or do you just look around and think, oh, so much to do? So your first job is to check out how your front door and the entrance hall feels when you come into your home. Because if you get that space welcoming anything into your life, you're going to feel a whole lot better every time you come home. You know, we're going to be going out and about a lot more than we have been in the last year. Home really needs to feel great. The second thing I would like to say is, over the last year, because we've all spent so much more time at home, think about your home, and are there areas that you've chosen not to spend time in or that you prefer not to be in? If that's the case, then there is going to be something that is out of kilter with the energy in that space. And it might be clutter, it might be something that you've left there, it might be something that reminds you of a difficult time in the past, a sad time. It could even be something that reflects an old relationship or just something that makes you unhappy. Or it could be an energetic something in that part of the home which isn't supporting you. So your next job is to actually just look around and say to yourself, are there any parts of my home that I don't really enjoy being in? And ask yourself why that is. If you can't come up with a good answer, contact me. Do a little 15-minute walk around of your home, which is absolutely free. Show me what's going on, because I might be able to spot what is right in front of your eyes. But we're all very, very good at just not seeing things that are right in front of us. And we all deserve a home that is, you know, you walk in and it's like, yes, I am so happy to be home. And if we don't have that, let's make it, because it doesn't matter whether you live in a tiny apartment, even a single room. You know, I have clients who have me work on single rooms, or you live in a, you know, a multi-million pound massive mansion. It doesn't matter, because you can walk into a massive mansion and have all the money in the world and it still feels cold and unwelcoming and you're not at home there. So it doesn't matter whether you are in a tiny box room or a huge house. If your home does not welcome you, you deserve to have a home that does.
Great tips. So going back actually to the front door thing. So what if you've got a front door, like one of these horrible plastic front doors, and maybe the letterbox has come off, and maybe, you know, it's clean, but it's not the front door you'd really like, but actually to replace it would be so much money. And right now that's something that's not in your budget. What would you recommend for anyone who might be in that position?
That is a really good question. And the first thing I do is, yes, your front door might be, you know, having a new one might be completely out of your budget. Totally respect that. But what can you do to fix that letterbox? Because your front door, you see, is the mouth of your home, and the letterbox is the mouth of your front door. And you want that to bring any opportunities through. If your door is closed, you still want opportunities to come through. So let's try and get that fixed. You know, if you've got the money to do it, try and get that fixed. But then also take a step back and look at it. Yes, you've cleaned it up, you've polished the doorknob and all of those bits. Can you put...
Oh, Suzanne, you've got me hanging on
either side.
Can you put what? You froze then. So
can you put plants on either side? Can you sweep the path? Is it weedy? Do you need to do some weeding? And what can you do to make the front door that you are stuck with as attractive as possible? You know, I live in an apartment. I love my apartment. My front door, it's not the most beautiful front door in the world, but it's kept clean and polished, and we've made the entrance lobby very attractive so that people already feel good before they even knock on the door. You know, even if you just get a doormat outside that says welcome and you keep it clean, you're encouraging better energy, better vibes to come into your home. And, you know, frankly, lots of lovely opportunities and nicer people.
Love it. What do you do when you're not working?
I live near the Ashridge Forest and I walk, or I catch up with my friends. Sometimes I will just go and help a friend for the sheer hell of it. You know, like many people, I have some friends who've really struggled through the last year, and if I've got some spare time, I'll just jump in the car and go and give them a hand. Because, you know, I love what I do. I'm passionate about what I do. And you know what they say, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. So, yeah, that's exactly what happens. I'll just say, right, okay, shall I come and see you? And they'll go, yes, please.
You're not surprised. Fabulous. Okay, one final question, Suzanne.
I'm almost afraid of this question.
You can handle it. It doesn't matter what you say. So, when you're no longer on this planet, how would you like to be remembered?
Ooh. First and foremost, as a very loved mum, I think. That would always, yes, I have one child, and she is, wow, I cannot tell you how incredible it feels to be her mother. So as a good mum, first and foremost. And then I guess I would really love these methods to get out into the mainstream so that people start getting more sustainable in terms of what they do in their homes, that they live comfortable lives with lots of moments rather than I want people to feel good when they're in their homes, because if you feel good in your home, that expands into every other part of your life. And you can't have one without the other. You can't have a superb job and come back to a home that makes you feel blue. So I guess, if I were remembered for something, it would be for the woman who brought interiors therapy into the mainstream and just got hands-on really and showed people how to do it. I tell you, Julie, I love working hands-on with people in their homes. I know that's really unfashionable, right? I know that, my online course should be the thing that everybody are doing, and I should just sit here or I should sit on a beach and be on Instagram being on a beach. That's not me. I want to be right there holding the space with people and saying, look, let's make this place sing for you and love your life the way you deserve to love it. If I'm remembered that way as the person who did that, that's good enough for me.
Oh, yes, I love that, Suzanne. Suzanne Roynon, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Julie. It has been great, and have yourself a really beautiful day in your lovely fiery space.